We're Sweet Potatoes, Well Shut My Mouth a restaurant. We're in Winston Salem, North Carolina. We fry a lot of chicken at Sweet Potatoes in a professional kitchen. It's different when you do it at home. I think you are more focused on the art of frying chicken, and it really is different when you do it in a highly seasoned cast iron pan as opposed to two, deep fryers. The chicken is good in a deep fryer, but somehow it's more personal in a cast iron pan. My grandmother always had fried chicken and fatback in her oven with biscuits. No matter what time of day or whenever you came over, it was always in the oven. I don't know why nobody got sick because the oven was never on. It was being warmed by the pilot light, but it was always perfect. In our cookbook we have buttermilk fried chicken, which is the actual chicken that we do at the restaurant, and we have Miss Aura's fried chicken. This is what we're doing today. My grandmother, Aura Porter, she was probably one of the best cooks that I've ever met. Even though she didn't read or write very well, she cooked. She tasted everything. She cooked through taste. I'm a spice maniac, so with our buttermilk fried chicken, the flour is highly seasoned. There's nutmeg and dried mustard, salt, pepper, garlic, thyme in that chicken. Even though our buttermilk fried chicken is very good, it's a totally different thing. My grandmother had salt and pepper, so we're only using salt and pepper in the chicken flour, and we're using salt and pepper to season the chicken. That's all you need to make probably one of the best fried chickens I've ever had. This chicken is crispy, lightly floured. It's fried chicken at its purest. Well, you get your chicken from the grocery store. It's going to have some stuff on it that just needs to come off. So you want to rinse the chicken off fairly well, and there's a lot more fat on chicken than it used to be, I think. So you want to take as much of the fat off as you can, and kind of maybe cut off some excess skin, especially around the thigh, and get the feathers off of the wing if you can. So what I'll do is I'll usually rinse the chicken off, and I'll add salt water to it and let it sit for a little bit, because if you can do this a day ahead of time, that would be really good. You're brining it really, so it gets a flavor, some flavor inside the chicken. I'll take it out of the pan that I've washed it in, and put it on a plate and season it with salt and pepper. And then you're going to prepare your flour. Now, if you have cornstarch is a really good thing to add to flour to fry with, because it makes things crispier. So if you have the cornstarch, you want to add it to flour and season the flour with some salt and pepper. Coat it fairly well with the flour and kind of carefully put it in the pan. You don't want to overcrowd the pan. I guess the average pan will probably hold about 7 pieces of chicken. My grandmother, she didn't have a whole bunch of seasonings, so she used pork to season things a lot. Frying chicken with fatback, it served 2 purposes. One, it fried the fatback, and it seasoned the oil that you were frying the chicken in. So you just had this intense flavor. It kind of added a depth to the fried chicken. Normally, if you fry fatback, and if you're going to fry fatback, you want to boil it first to get some of that salt out, and then you fry it or put it in the oven and broil it. But with the chicken, you just kind of rinse it off and make sure it's dry before you put it into the pan with the hot oil. Otherwise, it will pop all over the place. It's that little tiny icing on the cake is that fried fatback. When you first put the chicken in, it fries really loudly. You can hear it's really frying hard. And once it's starting to cook a little bit more, the sound kind of calms down a little bit, so you'll have an indication that it's time to turn the chicken. If you don't want the oil splashing everywhere, you'll put a lid over it after you turn it, because if you do it before, it'll kind of steam the flour on one side off, so you won't get a crispy chicken. So it's probably going to take about 20 minutes for the chicken to cook thoroughly. And my best suggestion is always to use an instant read thermometer to make sure the chicken is done. My grandmother didn't have one. She listened to it. It sounded done. So now I don't have quite that instinct. So I use a thermometer. And the chicken is done when the thermometer placed at the thickest part of the meat, not on the bone, reads 165 degrees or above. It's done. Take it out and let it drain on a paper towel on a platter. Take the fat back out. Eat the chicken. Eat the fat back. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Take the grease off the side of your face. My grandmother, she was 93 when she died. After a funeral, everybody came back to our house, and so I had bought this chicken. So I stood in front of the stove and I just fried chicken. I must have been there for like 2 hours just frying chicken, and people would just come by and just leave me alone and let me fry the chicken, and they just come and take chicken off the platter as I was putting it on there. People just come by and eat chicken. But it made me feel really very close to her on that day, and that was the most comforting thing that I could think to do. And without saying anything, everybody just let me do it. We have a cookbook, and there's a lot of cookbooks out there. And I think the whole point of cookbooks is for people to cook. And if you can get your family, cook for your family, I think it's the best way to show people that you love them is when you cook for them. So if nothing else, if you can at least once a month or once a week make a meal for someone you love, then I think we've done, or at least I've done what I think I set out to do, which is to help people get back into the kitchen and not be afraid to cook. Don't be afraid to burn it. If you burn it, start over again. But just get back in the kitchen and get in touch with just cooking. It's not that hard anymore. It really isn't.